you want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today, where you can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV. Want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today, where you can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV.
Welcome and happy Friday. We are almost over halfway through Women's History Month. And, this is a day and a month that we should celebrate always. And I want to thank my guests out here again for watching and coming on today. I am your host, Dr. Yvette Butler-Yaboa, and my co-host,
The Invisible
Shirlondra
Man.
Brooks.
And we are the voice of AAU, that's American Africans United. And we welcome everyone today. And we have an amazing young woman today. And as we know, we're talking about celebrating women. So we'll be celebrating women all this month. And actually, I'm going to try to get more women on the show because many of you know our show's been on for going on a year now. And we've always had a lot of men. So, I need to do this more because I love talking to my sisters out there. So, as you know, we always start our show off with a little video clip. And today we're celebrating women in business. And so before we introduce our guest, and I'm really excited about it today, I'm going to show a clipping about women in business just to set the stage as we always do. So can you show the clipping, please?
The world has never been so ready
to see just how far women can go.
And we are here for it, pushing forward as tenaciously as ever to ensure that
all women are treated fairly in the workplace.
That all women are able to attain the skills they need
for the job they want.
And that all women are respected
for the work they do.
We work with lawmakers,
educators,
business people,
and community leaders
to address the challenges women face
every day.
Because paid sick time means recovering from an illness without fear of losing a job.
Because fair scheduling
creates a more stable home.
Because equal work demands equal pay.
Because women with access to education
are empowered to improve their lives,
build their economic security,
so that their communities thrive.
Because history has proven
time and again
that a better, safer,
more equitable workplace for women
has a positive impact on humanity.
And we won't stop advocating for change
until every woman,
from those who make the tips to those who make the laws,
is given her due.
We are doubling down on rising up.
We're asking you to join us.
We're asking you to join us.
And we're asking you to join us.
Because there can never be too many people
on the right side of history.
We are women employed, and we are on a mission to pursue equity for all.
Now, we are so excited. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our guest who actually works for Women Employed. It's Shirlondra Brooks. She leads Women Employed Career Foundations programs. Their programs and partnerships with city colleges of Chicago, Chicago Jobs Council, the Chicago Citywide Literacy Coalition, and community-based other organizations. Now, one thing about this young lady, it's amazing. I'll tell you, she not only has done, set the platform and opened the doors for so many women like ourselves, but she actually, before joining in 2017, she worked for 14 years in leading development and implementation of the healthcare bridge and a career and pathway programs under the the WIA program, which I am so excited to announce that we have just been approved as a WIA organization to do computer training, skill computer training. So I'm really excited about that. So I'm going to ask you more about that because I need to know a little more about WIA because we have just been approved. And Health Professionals Opportunities Grant in partnership with Triton College. Now, this is another Chicago native. Now, we've had a lot of Chicagoans. How do you say this? Chicagans or Chicagos?
Chicagoan.
How do you pronounce it?
Chicagoan.
Chicagoans. We've had quite a bit of Chicagoans on. I am so happy to have you on today. We're excited and you can tell us a little bit more about your background because I don't want to read all through it. I want you to tell us a little about yourself. Shirlondra Brooks, thank you for coming on. Tell us a little about yourself.
Absolutely. I'm Shirlondra Brooks. I'm the Senior Program Manager with Women Employed, and I lead two initiatives there. And one of them is the Career Foundations Program, and we'll dive a little bit into that, I think, a little later. And I also lead our Healthcare Careers Program. So it's a healthcare bridge program, and we work with community-based organizations to kind of move this work in under-resourced communities. So I'm super excited about this opportunity to kind of highlight some of that good work that we're doing. And yeah, that's just like me in a little bit of a nutshell, but super excited to be here and super excited for the conversation. And yeah, that's
Well,
what's
I'm gonna tell you,
happening.
I love that video. That video, I know it was done by your organization. It's a beautiful video. I love it because without women, we wouldn't be here today. Without us, we're not
Yeah.
only the backbone, the front bone. We are the creators of human life. So
Yeah.
really excited to have you. So, and why? Tell me, is there a need? Why is there a need for a women's organization and women employed? What are some of the historical reasons why that's needed for women?
Um, Organizations like Women Employ, we are the voice of those who are considered to be the voiceless. And we are making sure that not only are we just advocating and taking things to the top level, but we're at the ground level as well, working with those community-based organizations, working with instructors, working with those CEOs to say, hey, look, what are the issues? What are we finding that our students need more of? What is it about, like, if we're interested in like having career pathways be available to everyone, are they equitable? How do we avoid student debt? So we get on the ground. So part of my job is that on the ground work. So I oversee a lot of that community-based organization, just making sure that I'm having the conversations that are necessary to kind of inform some of the policy and the advocacy work that we're doing. So it's important. And especially as a the organization, like there are a lot of organizations that do what we do, but I think that what makes us so special is we are a talented group of all women. We're just a woman organization, and we just want to make sure that we are making sure that we are the voice. So we're small, but we're definitely mighty, and we fight the good fight, and we've been doing that for over 40 years. So I'm super excited to be a part of Women Employed and just all of the work that we are doing at this time. And I was going to say they, as in like when I was working for a community-based organization, I work very closely with Women Employed, and I have always been a fan. So just super excited again to just come on and really tell you like what the work that we do. We work hard and we make sure that we get it done. So there is a need. We want to make sure that we're uplifting women and that we're just highlighting the good work and making sure that we have a space.
Now, on that video, which I love so much, I talk about fair and equitable pay. Can you tell us a little bit about how your organization actually works to make the playing field level for us, and what is the pay difference from women to men? And we all know there is one.
Oh
And
yeah.
how can we get past this and have it be more fair and equitable?
Well, for full-time women and working women, right? Year round. We're making 82 cents for every dollar that our male counterparts are making, right?
Yes.
And for African American women, that for black women, I should say that is at 63%. I mean, I'm sorry, 63 cent.
Wow.
And then when you think about Latinas,
Wow.
it's at 55 cents. And
Wow.
when we think about Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders, that number is 63%. And that number is also 60%. I'm sorry, 60 cent. It's also 60 cent for Native American women. And for Asian women, it's 85%. But it's also like a small disparity there because in some situations, there is a substantially larger, the income is a little bit less. So we got work to do.
Now, what can we do to make? Because I know that when President Obama was in office, they always talked about equal pay for women, and had all these campaigns. How effective has it been, and what can we do as women to push the envelope? Because more of us are now in the workspace. We're more in the administration and at the higher level. Well, not as many in higher level management. We're getting there. What can we do as women to help push this agenda?
I think that for me personally, it's about just continuing to talk about it. continuing to make sure that it's like front and center, that we don't let the conversation die, because it's important. It's very much so important, and we just have to keep that conversation going, making sure that like we're advocating for ourselves, that we're just saying like, hey, look, you see like the marches, right? You see us out there, you see us talking about it, we're advocating, we're putting it up, we're saying, hey, look, no longer will we stand for this. And I think that as long as we're continuing to have that conversation, that's going to do a lot, because that I can see like the fruits of that labor as well. I can see where women are now entering those sectors that are typically dominated by men. So so work is some magic is happening. I can see, especially when you think through tech careers, right? When you think through engineering and things of that nature, we are definitely integrating into the space again, with those industries that are typically dominated by men.
Ms. Brooks,
Now, I
should
was going to
women
say
have the
it's
same
oh,
skills as men? Why or why not? Again, should women have the same skills as men? Why or why not?
I'm going to flip that question, and I'm going to say, should men have the same skills as women?
You
And
want me to answer?
I flipped that question. So I say that men should definitely have the same skills as women. And I'll give you an example. I work for an organization, and my colleagues, we were in leadership, and one of the individuals, a male, we needed help. We needed an assistant. He ended up getting an assistant. And so I go back to my supervisor and I said, hey, why did he get an assistant? And she literally told me, well, men are not administrative people. They don't like really do paperwork and stuff like that. So we just got him someone to kind of assist him with those things. So from that point on, I think that men need to maybe have the same skills as women, because I think we're making great strides. Remember, I talked about us kind of integrating into those spaces that are typically male dominated. So yeah,
Well,
I'm gonna
women
get beat
entered
up
the
for that.
workforce because men were going to war
Mhm.
traditionally. And you're talking about a secretary. At one time, all of the secretaries were men. So how has the pandemic changed people's lives as far as being employed in that respect, women in particular?
Well, I think one of the things that the pandemic has for definitely uncovered is a couple things have happened. Unemployment has happened, right? Reskill and upskill. You now have individuals who have been in careers for years and now are saying like, you know what, it's time for a change, or that this is proving to not be as strong as I thought it would. It could not outlast the pandemic. So I think that the pandemic definitely it uncovered some disparities as well, because as of January 2021, you have 2.3 million individuals who are out of work, and majority of, I believe 57% are women, and either they're out of work or just in a position where they're kind of like, trying to make that transition to that reskill and that upskill. So I think that the economy is just, you think about like us as caregivers, and you know what I mean, you think about us as caregivers, you think about like all of this good work that we're doing, but you just have individuals with solid careers who are now looking, and again, are talking about that real reskill and that upskill. So the pandemic has uncovered lots of disparities. It has uncovered that nobody is safe, and nobody is safe in terms of your skill set, whether you're degreed or or not. No one is safe. So I think that and then there's disparities, and I could go on for days with that, like the disparities that were also uncovered there, as well as for individuals in underserved communities where there was a lack of rapid response and stabilization just for those individuals. Women walking down the street with 4 or 5 kids, so with masks and trying to figure it out. So the pandemic definitely uncovered that, because there are typically the individuals who are actually serving these individuals in underserved communities don't look like them. So sometimes to stabilize a family that doesn't look like them, right? It doesn't mirror what they are, can be very hard because it's about relating to those lived experiences as well. So, yeah, the pandemic
I
has
think,
definitely uncovered those.
yeah, well, this pandemic has enlightened us to a lot of disparities. And I think that we knew they were there, but the greater us, the major mass of those who make the decisions they didn't acknowledge it. And I think it's made people acknowledge more because this disparities that exist, especially between minorities and non-minorities, that has been those disparities have really been highlighted. And they've always talked about we've come so far, but it showed exactly that we haven't come so far yet. And we have a lot more coming to go. And I'm not sure we're going to get there, but let me ask you about STEM programs. Now, is it a good way for young women to get more of these transferable skills? Because as we know, when we look at the IT field, because studies have shown now since the pandemic that billions of dollars in jobs are going to be shifted into the area of information technology, especially around CompTIA, Network Plus, and some of these other fields that we're not in. How do we, as young women and young girls, develop these transferable skills, and how do we get them more engaged?
That's a good one because there are a lot of STEM programs that are showing up. And there's one particular program, can't remember the name, but they're in the Austin area of Chicago. And that's definitely an under-resourced community. They are pouring money into STEM programs for women. And Boeing shifted their agenda a few years ago to kind of reflect technology, to kind of like highlight not just like people of color, but making sure that being intentional about making sure that we were highlighting young women. So those STEM programs are going to be very crucial when we talk about going into those industries that are typically male dominated. So they're happening. And I'm super excited about it as well, because that particular program does serve really young women at a very young age. I think they get them in middle school. So they're getting them interested in tech right now. So definitely one of those things that's happening. And I think that with all of the work that we're doing right now, there's going to be a solid opportunity for them to make a smooth transition. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too of all the things that are happening coming out of this, as that COVID has just uncovered, and they're now trying to make a change in a lot of this. I do want to remind my audience, this is a live show, so you can call in. So we're going to get that call-in number up. So if you have a question for our wonderful stars amongst us, our guest speaker, Shirlondra Brooks, please don't hesitate to call in. The number will be up in just a second, so you can call in. And as they put that number up, tell us a little bit about a career pathway programs that are important career pathway programs and its importance to women. Could you tell us a little bit about that, some career pathways, and how do they get involved in some of these programs that have these career pathways, and why is it important to women?
So for women, when you think about the workforce and the value add, how we give to the economy, but before getting to that career pathway question, what we do as women employed and how we work with community-based organizations is through Career Foundations. And Career Foundations is a career exploration program where we want to make sure that we're not just sending individuals through training programs to get certifications that would not have much value. So Career Foundations helps individuals to identify that career pathway that they would be interested in going into. And so that means that we're addressing the reading and the math. We're making sure that you have like the numeracy and the literacy to be able to navigate going into advanced certifications, industry recognized credentials, as well as accessing degree programs. So when you think about career pathways, it does just that. It meets an individual where they are. So some of the things that they'll get is foundational. Like, let's take RN or patient care tech, for example. That is a particular career where certified nursing assistant is needed. And oftentimes we don't see it as having much value in terms of the pay. But it's foundational. It's what is needed to actually advance through a career pathway. So you're thinking about certified nursing assistant that'll take you into an EKG course that'll allow you to have another industry recognized credential, and then phlebotomy, which will allow you to have another industry recognized credential. And then you're thinking the national certification for patient care tech, right? And now you've taken someone who was probably reading at maybe 6th, 7th, 8th grade level. You've helped them with that numeracy and literacy. You've shown them, like, if this is the career path that you want to take, here's the amount of money you can make. So here's the starting salary. Here's what you can make if you keep advancing through those if those courses with those industry recognized credentials. And when we're doing things, it's important because we're now closing the pay gaps. We're working to close that pay gap, right? We're working so that we can say that we don't want people to just work to pay bills, but we want you to work and be able to plan a nice vacation. So career pathways are important at this time where women are now reskilling, upskilling, attaching themselves to courses that will improve their quality of life. And we all know that, one person working in a household, and typically a woman that's a single parent, one person working in a household changes the entire family dynamic. So focusing there, you're thinking about the value add to the economy. Career pathways are super important because they really allow a person to say, I have 6 months to actually get something, to get immediate attachment to the work, get a credential and get immediate attachment to the workforce. And then they know that at some point that they'll be able to say, now I have another 6 months to probably access another credential. So career pathways are definitely important, but we also want to make sure that we're moving to a place that those career pathways are equitable, that they actually are meeting the demands.
Yeah, and you mentioned nurses aid, and that's a female-dominated area. So what about pushing them into the STEM? Because we know that, and this is just what I've been looking at and what I've been researching, because as a new WIA organization doing some of those IT skills, you come out making, as a entry-level position, you can make 55 to 60,000 just what a CompTIA Network Plus, Security Plus certification. So how do we get women more engaged in those careers to really equal that playing field? So that first 6 months they give working and getting that industry recognized certification, that now they can make a real true choice now, taking care of their family, planning their vacations. How do we get young women pushed into that area?
So I think it's about understanding how now technology is across multiple industries. So when you think about someone that says, I want to work in healthcare, but I don't want to see blood, right? There are some people who really want to work behind the scenes with some of this work, right? And what I'm seeing and what we're looking at is, how do we ramp up that? How do we say, hey, if you want to work in healthcare, there's tech. Because we do come across a lot of women that are so savvy, so tech savvy, that they want to do something with that. So technology spans across multiple industries. So I really want people to know that technology is just not the guy that's at the help desk and he's going to troubleshoot your computer. Yes. Technology is in healthcare. Technology is in manufacturing. Technology is in transportation, distribution, and logistics. I was going to make up my own word. Got so excited. But technology is across multiple industries, and it's really important that individuals understand that tech does not look like it used to look. And with women coming on board and just, kind of making that transition into, from those informal and vulnerable occupations like CNA, there's opportunity to those male-dominated those male dominated careers, this
Yeah.
is huge. So, but technology is across multiple industries. It does not live alone. It is in everything that we do.
I
Now,
want
tell
to
me about some
add
of the challenges. Okay, go ahead. I want to hear after you add. I want to tell you about some of the
the
challenges.
Project Exploration is the name of the program in Austin on the west side of Chicago, and it's been in operation since 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And it operates out of the George Leland Elementary School and Michelle Clark Academic Prep Magnet High School. Okay,
They're
that
doing
was just
wonderful
information.
work.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
Wonderful work. And it's a woman-led organization.
Like
Get
that.
so excited about that. It's woman-led organization.
Okay, I'm gonna be quiet.
It's like
Well,
you
this
don't
is
have to
Women's
be
History
quiet.
Month.
Go
I
ahead.
love it.
Yeah, because now tell me about some of the challenges that we face as women in the workplace, and that men don't face.
I think being heard. I think that we're often looked at as complainers. I think that we are often our opinions are not valued. I think that we are sidelined. I think that our expertise is quietly tapped. And I say use the word quietly tapped because, it's typically they go around and come to you and they have a sidebar conversation. I think that there is still space where there is still sexual harassment. And oftentimes they look at us as being, a little bit of crybabies and not able with no ability to actually run a company because of those things, because we're considered to be soft. So we can't really tell people what to do. I think that I also just see I've seen in the past a lot of my male colleagues kind of get away with, just being heard, because when they're complaining, it really just sounds like they're problem solving. So I think
Yes, that's so true. Now, and how is that different if you're a Black female in the workplace, or is it different?
Yes, it is. It's definitely different. I think that it's definitely it's almost like it's the angry Black woman. It's that where we have attitudes, that we're never going to go anywhere, because then when we do access power, we abuse it. And it's just hard to bring your entire self to work when you have so many things, like being able to say I disagree, or healthy pushback is, I always feel like sometimes in the past that I've had to kind of preface a conversation before I have a conversation with saying, well, I'm going to help, like I'm going to respectfully disagree, or this is just healthy pushback. So I always have to use those words, because I am often looked at as like, she's just going to complain, or she just has an attitude today, or how she is, we don't pay her any attention, we'll go around her. Or I have not been invited to the conversation, and I don't, and part of that is just like, it's hurtful, because people don't, you're not invited to the conversation, you don't know why, and then it makes you think about, like, how does someone see you, and or do they not see that you have any value? So I got
a question, two questions that are very much related. Respond to the saying, it's a man's world, and is the United States behind in how they see the role of women in society?
It's a man's world. Okay. So how I look at this is that, for a very long time, when we use the word man, we often were referring to a white man.
Correct.
And that's the value that it's a man's world kind of like translate to, at one point it was, it's a white man's world. And I think that we still have some work to do.
Okay, what about how the United States, how is the woman pictured in society in the United States? Does she have a full place at the table, not at the table, or like me, invisible?
I feel like we got a chair with wheels, right? Like roll us up to the table and they pull us right back. Like, nope, not so much. I think that we still have work to do because men don't think, there's often times that men don't think that women are capable of running big corporations because they think that we're going to allow our feelings to get in the way of really doing the work. And so I do think that there are oftentimes we are not at the right tables because you can tell by the decisions that are made. So when we talk about making things equitable, we have to not just say, we're diversifying, for example, a career. We're going to make sure that this career pathway is accessible to those in underserved communities, under-resourced communities, right? Yeah. But we have to think about who is actually developing the curriculum for these things and who's at the table while this curriculum is being developed. How are we leaning on lived experiences when it comes to some of this work? But we also have to think about not just like the curriculum development, but we have to think about how diverse the instructors that we're putting at the table, how diverse are the case managers that we're putting at the table. Yes. Those things, that's important. How do what if an individual has a bias? They don't feel comfortable really exposing themselves to someone that doesn't look like them. We have to think about all of those things because those things become barriers. And then the next thing, those career pathways that we're saying that we're making accessible, people are not going to access them because they're going to run into some challenges just trying to transition into those programs. So we got work to do.
And it's so funny. Our Invisible Man said, he was, a woman, this is a man's world. We have to look globally too. Now, United States, we're a lot further ahead. I have to say this in most countries for women. And I've had the opportunity to travel the world to some extent, especially to the continent, to Europe and other places, and also the Latin American countries. Machismo is real. And we have to realize that. And when all those cultures come into play here, even though we have a lot, we have gained a lot, especially American women. And African American women are still, we're still way behind just women in general. This is still a man's world globally. And I have to say that from a point where when you go to